Welcome to the Hallowstead. My name is Charlie. I'm a non-binary Christopagan Druid and practitioner of creation spirituality. I am going to be your vision keeper for this experience. What is the Hallowstead? Why is this called that? I grew up in a lot of churches and fell in love with the word church. The more I got involved with the Catholic Church, I fell in love with the word cathedral. As I became more involved with Druidry, I fell in love with the word grove, but this isn't any of those things. And so it needs a name. It needs to be a place that we can have in our own homes. It's not really a shrine. When I think of a shrine, it's a place where you put things up on a pedestal and make sure that it's not collecting dust. It's a place of reverence and silent solemnity. But this is a place where we are going to go into ourselves and into the realms of spirit. That can be an irreverent place. That can be a place of humor, of laughter, of joy, and of sorrow. Shrine, altar, those words really didn't work for me. But Hallowstead is a word that means a lot to me. So a hallow is anything that is sacred. A saint, a relic, a statue, an altar, just anything that you find sacred. Instead means a place. Hallowstead literally means the sacred place. And I like it better than just saying the sacred place, because I think the words that we use for our spiritual life should be unique to our spiritual life. They should be sacred. They should be set aside. They should have a different meaning and connotation so that they maintain their specialness, so that we feel that we are going into spirit whenever we approach them. And so I have decided to call this podcast the Hallowstead. In my home, we have a Hallowstead. We have a place where our sacred images and candles and offerings sit. And I recommend that you have one as well. We're going to talk about all kinds of things in this podcast, but most of it is going to be guided meditations, prayers, and rituals, with an occasional moment of altar making, maybe some practical crafts that you might want to engage in to deepen your experience. Everything that we talk about here is going to be rooted very heavily in Christopagan Druidry and my practice of creation spirituality, which means through deep ecumenism, we will occasionally be bringing in practices from Buddhism, Kabbalah, and other faiths as they enrich our understanding and deepen our experience along the path. We need to start with the question of what is a spiritual awakening? Because I feel like you either have had one or you're on the verge of one if you're here. This is a term that's getting bandied around a lot lately. So what is it? My spiritual awakening came when I was a child. I was running around in the hollers in my rural Ozark backyard. I met what I thought was an imaginary friend. When I told my great-grandmother about it, she knew what I was talking about. She filled in gaps in my own understanding and made me realize that something more had happened to me than what I thought. Now, that's not how all spiritual awakenings go. Spiritual awakenings are very distinct and different for each person. Sometimes they're shocking and they rock us down to the core. They shake us to the very foundation of our being. Sometimes they're subtle, sweet whispers that call us out into the unknown. Your spiritual awakening will be unique. So don't envy other people theirs. Cherish yours. It might be a poem or a song. You might have had a crow land next to you and make a sound in such a way that it resonated deep in your spirit and you felt the Morrigan's call. You may have had a dream of fire and felt the call of Bridget. There's no one way to do it. There's no one level of grandiosity that a spiritual awakening can take. Mine is mine. And I've had what I feel like are several throughout my life, key moments of epiphany that have led me and guided me and helped me to get where I am. And that's not because I'm special or anything like that, because I am not, but because with each one, I was put on a path where I learned to listen more, to be connected more, to be in touch with the cosmos more. And the more readily you are to hear, well, the more you're going to hear. So you might want to start asking yourself, what was your spiritual awakening? It could be something simple, like a great aunt or mother explaining something to you. You might have seen a YouTube video that made you go, that makes so much sense. You may have just seen the cover of this podcast and thought, I don't know why, but I should listen to that. No matter how subtle or how profound you experience this, your eyes have been opened to a greater world, a world beyond our senses. Again, that sounds grandiose, like I'm at the beginning of some kind of a Harry Potter moment. Maybe you're expecting me to do a you're a wizard joke here. And trust me, I'm tempted, but I'm not. Opening yourself up and connecting to these things beyond our sight are the foundation of our relationships with the cosmos and with each other. As we continue down the path, you may feel that you need to give something. Often it's a gift of time, a gift of effort. I know when I started working with Bridget, she very heavily encouraged me to study the Irish language. And so I have given my time and energy to do that. I don't know that I will ever be fluent because I started fairly late in life, but I'm going to do my best to honor that offering. Maybe it's going to be something a little bit more special. My husband, who has a relationship with the Dagda, offers him coffee in the morning, a practice that he learned from John O'Sullivan, and one that has really enriched his life. I offer a perpetual light to Bridget. Every night, we make an offering of this ginger tea that we make to the house spirits. And you can feel this levity enter the house every time we pour the cup. Offerings are gifts. They're ways that we make connection to the unseen and to the seen. We do this with our friends all the time. We just don't realize it. That little special present here, that, oh, have you heard this song? Those little things. Because again, like with everything in spirituality, it's not always a great grand gesture. Usually they're very small, very special gifts. Offerings are ways that we establish our relationship with the unseen. Here's my sign of devotion to you. Then we look and we pay attention for a return gift. And we start this gifting cycle between us and the spirit world. This is an art as well as a science. Remember, if you are gifting and not receiving anything in return, you're making gifts. They may or may not even be being accepted. In everything that we're doing here, we're looking for that return. We're looking for this reciprocal relationship to get built up. You may want to have a relationship with this spirit or that spirit. That doesn't mean that they want to or are obligated to have a relationship with you. And so we look for the signs, never trying to make ourselves feel special, because we're not. We're all human beings living in this world, trying to make our connections to the wider, greater gamut of what is. You can't buy someone's friendship, right? If you're friends with somebody just because you constantly give them gifts and presents, and that's the only reason they're around, they're really not your friend. And the same thing is true in our spiritual relationships. We're not here trying to buy the love of the gods, the spirits, and our ancestors. We're here to establish a relationship and a rapport with them. It should be a caring and considerate one, at least in terms of how those energies work. But we'll talk about that more when we talk about specific spirits and relationships. One of the most basic offerings that we're going to be asked to partake in is prayer. Prayer seems hard, mainly because a lot of us grew up in traditions, be it Judaism, Christianity, Islam, even Buddhism and Hinduism, where there are these beautiful prayers that have been refined by the centuries to hit a certain type of language. That isn't what prayer is. Yeah, prayer can be words, but prayer is our response to life. Prayer is who we are and how we live. We are living temples. Our hearts are an altar on which the many events of our lives are sacrificed. Our joys, our sorrows, our triumphs, our creativity all sit there as glorious offerings upon our heart and radiate out into the world. Every action that we take is prayer. Everything that we do is prayer. So it becomes even more powerful for us who are walking this spiritual path to become mindful of those prayers. How are you living in your day-to-day life? How are you living from moment to moment? Particularly, how are you entering your Hallowstead and being intentional about that prayer, that energy, that voice that you're putting out into the universe, that dance that you're putting out into the universe. Because prayer is not a verbal activity. Sometimes we want to sing, dance, write a poem, make a piece of art. All of this is prayer. All meditation is, in a way, a form of prayer. Every action that you do is a form of prayer in one way or another. Again, this makes it sound more grandiose than it should. And a lot of spiritual teachers like to lean in on that and try to make people feel that much more special. I don't want you to feel special. I don't want me to feel special. I want to feel connected and interconnected with this grand world whose great lie is that we are isolated one from another and isolated from that which is. Prayer reminds us that we are connected, interconnected with all life, all things in this world. As we connect with that one life that flows through everything, the stones, the plants, the animals, the cosmos, and us. The stars are filled with the one life, just like the rocks in your garden, or the bird in the tree, or you, or me. Many traditions try to put strictures on what is a sacred space. And maybe there's some appropriateness to that. If you are trying to connect to a spirit of a tree, then maybe you should go to that tree, and your sacred space should be somewhere around there. Maybe if you're trying to connect to a specific saint or spirit, maybe you should have some things that remind you of them there. But all of those are trappings. You don't have to have statues and icons. You don't have to have candles and bells. You don't really have to have anything to have a sacred space. A sacred space is that circle that we draw around ourselves and say, in here, I recognize fully all that is holy, all that is good, all that is wholesome. In this space, all is sacred. As we develop in our spirituality, that circle kind of widens out and gets to the place where you start seeing the sacred everywhere. But you should have a space somewhere in your house, maybe a corner of your desk, a corner of your room, part of your nightstand, maybe on top of your dresser. Ours is in the living room, right over the television, so that we can't help but see it all the time. Wherever you feel is most appropriate. And it should have things that connect you to the sacred, whatever that is. And don't break the bank on it. You're not going to receive more blessings because you spent more money on your altar and sacred space. That's not how that works. In fact, I am very dubious of anyone who tries to connect offerings with money. They're, in my mind, similar to those who try to connect offerings with blood. They're after something else that's probably not for our benefit. So the sacred space is defined by you and what you find that connection to. Throughout this podcast, we're going to be talking about various altars and changes that you might want to do with your altar for the seasons, for the times. And that is all up to you. Just because we say here it is this holiday, maybe we should add these things to the altar, doesn't mean that you should. If those things mean nothing to you, if you have no connection to them, then maybe that's not a practice for you. And that is perfectly fine. Your sacred space should be personal to you. What do you find sacred? What do you connect with? How do you connect with the cosmos, with the universe? That's one of the things we're going to be seeking out and discovering together. We've talked about prayer and we've talked about sacred spaces. Now I think it's important to hone in on this word ritual. Now, some people will use the word ritual and ceremony interchangeably. I don't. I think they're different. And maybe we'll spend a lot more time on that later. It's a very nuanced conversation. So right now we're just going to talk about ritual. Ritual is any set of mindful actions that you take together to achieve an aim, to achieve an end, to get you to a place that you're trying to go. Now that sounds vague, and that's because it is vague. When I say my nighttime prayers, I call on the spirits, I call on the angels of the four directions, and I call on the spirits of the earth the sea, and the sky. And as I do so, there are various motions that I make, one to each of the directions, and various circles and stuff that I make when calling each of these spirits in. Are those movements necessary? No, but they are part of the magic, because this is where ritual is different from prayer. Prayer can be a lot of different things. Ritual is embodied. Ritual is when we take our prayer, our intention, our hopes and dreams, our fears and nightmares, and embody them in our actions in a sacred space to achieve a goal. They can be simple, like waving your hands. They can be simple, like ringing a bell or inviting a singing bowl to sing, lighting a candle. Again, none of this has to be grand or elaborate. But in embodying these actions, we are putting our whole self into them, just as prayer is something that rises from you all the time. Ritual is a moment of abject mindfulness. You might take days, months even, to craft the perfect ritual for a perfect cause. Sometimes you just perform the ritual based on what you know of the form and what you need in the moment. But ritual is embodied. It's more elaborate than just a devotional prayer or an intercessory prayer. Ritual involves usually an offering of some sort. It involves motion of your body, volition of your will, and often the invocation of various either elemental forces, energies of nature, spirits, gods, what have you. We all come together in this wonderful symphony, this chorus of voices, in hopes of bringing something about. Ritual is a very powerful thing, and something that we will be doing on this podcast together. Some rituals are great to do alone. Others should have other people in them. But ritual is always done with specific intention. Meditation is slightly different from a ritual. They're both done with an intention at mind, but it's a very simple and clear one. There are lots of kinds of meditation, from walking meditations where we are maintaining a certain level of mindfulness while we are walking, sitting meditation where we are focused often on our breath or on an image or a spot on the wall and just staying in this mindfully open state. Sometimes they're very contemplative, where there is an issue that we need to work through, and we're keeping ourselves in this mindful state, but while chewing over a very specific topic and trying to understand it better, deeper, and fuller. Meditation primarily happens in your mind, though your body can be involved. There are dancing meditations. There are many kinds of body prayer, walking meditation. But the actual act, the actual thing in meditation is in your mind. It is a space that you are opening to be aware of, to learn, to seek knowledge, to seek insight, to seek wisdom. Meditation is a place of quiet that we go into. For me, would be the difference between I would go into the church, I would go into the Hallowstead for a ritual where I'm calling and invoking all of the spirits that are there to take place in it. Meditation is much more intimate. It's partially like going into a library or like going into somebody's private study. While I could invoke Bridget into the Hallowstead during ritual, if I am going to meditate with Bridget, I will very often go to the forge or to nature or to a place where she would reside. Even if that's just in my mind, meditation is intimate. It is close to you. And when I say it's for an aim, it is not necessarily like ritual where you're trying to be a stone thrown into the pond and make ripples that go out into the world. Meditation can do that. But for the most part, meditation is an act of concentration. It may be a place that you go to build up your own energy, your own wisdom, your own vitality, your own understanding of a particular thing. But it is a place where you are building up, concentrating, whereas ritual is a place where you are reaching out to others. A lot of what we're going to be doing on this podcast is guided meditation. I'm going to propose a series of images and ask you to follow me through them. Now, for those of you who have aphantasia, then use the word prompts to the best of your ability. You don't have to see any of the things that I am talking about for the meditation to be valid or strong. Because what we're actually doing here is we are connecting to the ideas behind those images. We're connecting to the themes that are present in them. And we are building within ourselves a strong balance and harmony so that we are rooting ourselves deeper and deeper into these ideas, into these images, into these traditions, so that we can fully flower and bring those energies into our life. I like to think of meditation really as school, and the difference between an open-ended, say, mindfulness meditation and a guided meditation is whether or not the teacher is lecturing or we're given free time for study. A guided meditation is a place where we are going in and concentrating and bringing our mindfulness to a specific scenario, image, or idea so that we can learn it, not in an intellectual way, though sometimes we do get insights of that kind, but we're trying to learn it deep down in our bones so that it becomes second nature to us, so that we have a balanced and clear view of that topic, of that image, of that tradition, of that path, so that we can walk it in our regular everyday life. Life is not for meditation. Meditation is for life. Meditation is the school that helps us with our regular everyday life. What we learn and experience in meditation is there to help us throughout our regular life. In mindfulness meditation, we learn how to cultivate mindfulness, but that's so that when we're out in the world and something is robbing us of our mindfulness, we have the tools and the abilities to bring ourselves back to that place. The same with our compassion meditations and everything else. Meditation is the classroom that prepares us for life. And guided meditations are my favorite way of getting that education. Welcome to the Hallowstead. This is a new podcast that we are going to be doing. It is a product of our ministry over at creationspath.com and wisdomscry.com. If you're interested in this, you might be interested in our other podcasts. The Church of the Oak, which is a weekly devotional and inspirational sermon series that I do, or our Table Talk series, Creations Paths, where my husband and I sit down and talk about a topic for about half an hour, every day, Monday through Friday. This really is something that is near and dear to our hearts and something that we really do believe in with all of our being. And as such, we really want to be of service to you. Yes, a lot of the topics, especially here at the beginning, we are picking, we are choosing, we are trying to get our own ideas out there. But we'd love to know, what meditations would you like to see us do? What topics would you like to hear me talk about on the Church of the Oak? And what topics would you like to hear Brian and I talk about on Creations Paths? So you can always go over to creationspaths.com, go into the chat, and have that discussion with us. Join the community and become a part of everything that we're doing here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to us, if they give you that option. And if you think that this is something that would be helpful to others, please share it. This is the only time I'm going to be able to say that, because I want all of the episodes of this podcast to just be the meditations themselves. So if this does mean something to you, please share it or share the individual meditation with those that you think will get something out of it. You can always help us keep doing this by going over to Creations Paths and subscribing. We're going to be offering classes over there, and they're going to go out to our paid members first before going out to the wider community. So don't worry if you don't have any money, you'll get those classes eventually. Or you can support me over at Ko-fi or Patreon. I am CE Dorset on both, CEDORSETT. And that goes to support everything that I do, from my music to my writing to this. And that's not a gift or an offering to God or the gods. That is a gifted offering that helps us keep our bills paid, a roof over our homes, and food on our tables. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you for listening. And I can't wait to enter the Hallowstead with you and see all of the places that we will go.